Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, a program that's aired every Saturday night at 11 p.m. on the great Channel 24. We want to, first of all, as always, give a shout out to, first and foremost, New Life Evangelistic Center and the work that's been done with the work of Reverend Rice, as well as our organization of which I represent, the Universal African Peoples Organization, stands shoulder to shoulder with Reverend Rice and the center in terms of working to keep it open to help the homeless. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to those behind the camera, Brother Bill and Bob and James, as well as to several members of our organization. Shout out to Michelle, Scott Williams, Aaliyah Israel, and Valerie Holder. So on that note, though, we're going to have an exciting evening. I have some guests that's in the studio with me that I call unsung heroes of our community. And in fact, they're members of our organization, the Universal African Peoples Organization. I'd like to welcome Gwendolyn Cogshell to our program, as well as my brother, Heru Adeleke. Okay, then. All right, then. And we're here on the, I have invited you here because, of course, what we want to do is focus on some serious issues that impact our community. And most recently, there's been a series of outrageous acts that's a reflection of crime in our community. And I want to deal with that issue and the kind of response. As you know, and many people in the listening audience know, that most recently a 12-year-old young lady had been kidnapped, assaulted, and eventually the person was found who did that, was arrested. So to that end, though, Brother Heru, you were part of first of all, tell us a little bit about who you are. I always started that out. Who is Heru?
Okay, I was born with a name given to me as Tyran Lewis, but I received an African name, which is Heru Adeleke. Heru means liberator, king. Adeleke means the crown triumphs. And basically a little bit of summary about myself. I am a community leader and activist. I was a front line with Mike Brown murder. That's how I met you, actually. So I was heavily involved with that. I've also been to Standing Rock to stand with them to fight against the Dakota XL pipeline. And basically that was just for them to stop putting the pipeline down on the indigenous land. And you know, and I went up there twice. I'm also in the future I will be going to Flint, Michigan as well, for the Water is Life Summit, and that's Standing Rock and Flint, Michigan coming together. And that's basically what I do. But also, every year, last 4 years, I've been contributing to feeding families for Thanksgiving meals as well.
Oh, that's great. Great work. Gwendolyn Cogshell, you've been an activist a number of years. Quickly share with us a little bit about your background.
Well, actually, my mother introduced me to a Black Panther named Johnny Watson, and she introduced me to Avery Perry at the young age of 12, and that's when I did my first protest. I was involved in ACORN. I helped get the living wage passed. We got it passed in all 50 states. I've also been involved in the community, getting people in office, and I've just recently started reaching out to communities, sort of introducing people, connecting them with resources. I research resources, and I don't just pass them out. I actually knock on the door and sit down with people and explain things to them, because they don't necessarily understand when you just leave material. So I sort of connect them with how they can get a roof on their house and do things. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, just trying to help with various resources to make people available. Quickly, before we go to break, explain a situation where you were at a recent press conference in regards to the 12-year-old who had been found in this vacant property. Give the audience the sense of why you were there and what you experienced while being there.
Okay, just to catch up on that note, basically we was called to a press conference by Brother Azim. He's actually running for First Ward Alderman. And he came to our organization, which is the Universal African Peoples Organization, to come and stand with him at a press conference about the 12-year-old that was abducted and left for dead in a vacant house. And that's also in the First Ward, which is my community as well. I do live over there. And so we came, supported that. And it was just mind-boggling how the condition of the vacant house was, and the numerous of vacant houses that's in the St. Louis area as well. It was very heartbreaking. So of course, it was a no-brainer to come in and help out, help out the community and the neighborhood. Basically, we came together and we was just making a stand. We came together and we was doing neighborhood patrols, making sure the children make it to the bus stop safely and school safely in that area.
And that came as an extension of the press conference that was called by Aziz in terms of a couple points that he was trying to make, right? One was that there ought to be a reward system,
right,
and that we stand totally against that kind of behavior in our community to send a signal across the country, as well as there was a call for people to begin to patrol the area. So to that end, our organization, in terms of supporting that, also led, first of all, did you personally participate in some patrols immediately?
Yes, I did. Actually, that morning, I participated. I work overnight shifts, so when I got off work in the morning, I was, of course, I participated in patrolling, and basically I patrols a few blocks in the Kingsway West neighborhood. Basically just riding by, making sure they get on their bus and stop safely.
Okay then, and we're gonna get into that more after we come from break, so stay tuned. We'll be back with you in a few minutes. Okay, we're back with Conversations with Zaki Baruti, and we're talking about crime in our community, and we were focusing on the issue of the 12-year-old who was abducted, and some concrete solutions in terms of following up so that would not occur again. And we want to thank you in terms of your earlier conversation about what you have personally done. But more people have to be involved, of course. And to that end, Gwen, in terms of engaging the community to try to prevent that kind of behavior, what motivated you to come up with a concept that's called the UAPO Neighborhood Patrol?
Well, actually, on January the 7th, people might not notice, but UAPO reached out to the men in the community, and they meet with them on a regular basis. And Heru Adeleke had made a PowerPoint presentation, and in that presentation, he brought up that we need to start patrolling our own communities. And so what he said, we wish we had the funding so we can do it mobilely. And so I suggested that since we can use our own personal cars, and we can just put signs on the side of the cars and let people know that we're out there.
So in terms of an actual timeline, then, and Heru Adeleke is an integral part of the Universal African Peoples Organization, we were looking at projecting in terms of neighborhood patrols, but with the abduction of the child a week or two later, and seeing the need for that to actually be implemented immediately, then that's when the concept of the UAPO Neighborhood Patrol. So to that end, explain what steps have been taken, Gwen, and I understand that you also have been part of that process of patrolling the neighborhoods. I want you to first of all, explain the concept of the neighborhood, and let's just show this picture. This is one of the placards that we're asking that members of our organization to have on within their automobile, so identify us as we drive around mobilely, as you were just saying, in our cars, to become a watchful eye for our children, who are the most valuable commodity in our community. So to that end, you have also, just like Heru, have been doing so. Share with the audience in terms of some of your experiences and observations.
Well, I've observed a lot of things. I've seen parents, I've seen older brothers and sisters who do take the responsibility and stand with their children on the bus stop. So I don't want to say they're out there alone, all of them out there alone. But the fact of the matter is that 70% of the children that attend public schools come from single parent homes. So their mother can't be on the bus stop and going to work at the same time. So we felt we need to fill in those gaps. But what I've noticed is that it's disturbing to me to see an 8-year-old standing in front of a vacant building that's being demolished. I don't understand why, you know, the public school system don't have something in place where they periodically come and, you know, at least check out the bus stops to see if everything is working smoothly. It disturbed me to see 4 siblings walking to school together, the oldest one being 9, and they holding hand and crossing streets to get to the bus stop. That disturbed me. I saw a young man.
And as you seeing these observations, what time of the day is it, and what's the scenario?
It was like 6:45, 6:53 in the morning when it's still, you know, it's still dark outside actually, and so it was very scary, and you know, it's very disturbing.
So with that said, then moving forward on the UAPO Neighborhood Patrol. What kind of response would you share with our audience that we have received as far as people who are volunteering to assume that responsibility? Why don't you respond to that, Heru?
Well, the response that the organization is giving, basically everybody's hands on. We more than happy and willing to patrol. The community is noticing us and they're waving at us and saying good job. Appreciate you doing this. I wish somebody else was doing this. I'm glad you guys are stepping up as an organization, and that's very humbling. Like I say, it's just something that somebody has to do it. So why not me? Why not her? Why not you? So.
And Gwen, going back to the point of the schools where some of the bus stops are in front of vacant lots. So what do you plan on doing? And you're kind of heading up the effort for the UAPO Neighborhood Patrol. What are you recommending the next steps just around that particular issue in terms of the stops in front of the vacant buildings?
Well, like I said, this initiative was actually pushed up because we felt the need for it in the community right now. I don't want people to think that just because you see a UAPO sign, I don't want the children to feel like just because you have a sign that that they can approach the car. We don't engage with the children. I did talk to a few parents, and they did like we was doing. Their concern is that they don't want the children to feel comfortable when people start patrolling in the neighborhood. Like, some people talking about they're going to be patrolling on foot. But I don't, so what we're asking parents, because right now we're just using UAPO members because we know they have a commitment to the community and we know their characters. And we're going to be reaching out to the parents and asking them to patrol in their neighborhood. We don't have to meet in a certain place. I'm just patrolling in my community, and that's where we're going to reach out and start, asking the community to get involved. And we do have some points that we want to talk about, that this is not a vigilante group. We're not going to be jumping out the car and start attacking people. That's not what the organization is about.
Okay, then to that end, we want to highlight some of the points that we are expecting people in terms of working with us on the patrol. On that level, we're going to take a break. All right, you're back with Conversations with Zaki Baruti, and let me remind everybody who's listening, go tell your family members that Zaki Baruti Conversations every Saturday, 11 p.m. We want to grow this, and not just for my show, but for Channel 24. We want it to be the top-rated station here in the St. Louis area and throughout Missouri. On that note, we're discussing the UAPO Neighborhood Patrol. And Gwen, as we were just before the break talking about some of the points that we're trying to make sure that whoever participate in our patrol understands some of the rules and regulations or the principles by which we want to operate this neighborhood patrol. And one of them you had just made mention in terms of we want to make sure that people understand that this is not a vigilante group. We're not out here trying to be vigilantes. We want to be watchful eyes. Back in the old days, they used to have in the town where people would ring the bells and say, all is well. And we want to create in our community, all is well, because we got to put an end to all of this foolishness and the crime that exists in our community. You also made mention about a precaution against talking directly to children? Why are we addressing that like that?
Because these signs can be printed any place at any printers, we don't want the children to get a false sense of security, like, you know, somebody can duplicate that sign and start riding around with that sign in their car. So we do not approach the children. All we do is patrol around and ride around and make sure that the children are getting on and off the bus safely. So we're not patrolling the neighborhood except during school times, like before school, after school right now. But we're looking in the future to start patrolling the neighborhood all day long.
Okay, then, and also we're asking people to register the color, make, and year of their vehicle with us. So we want everybody to be absolutely clear. And why is that? Why should we be doing that?
Because we don't want, if somebody says that it's a car in our neighborhood and he's acting or she is acting suspiciously, she has one of your signs in the window. If they call us, we can check our register and let people know that that is not a person that's, you know, with our neighborhood patrol, that you need to maybe contact somebody about that.
And to that end, just want to emphasize that our organization meet weekly as we build that process, and we're encouraging people to be part of our organization that would participate. And our weekly meetings are at 7 p.m. at Legacy Bookstore and Cafe, 5249 Delmar. And if you are interested in not only our neighborhood patrol, but being involved with the organization, you could go to our website, which is www.uapo.org, or you could give us a call at area code 314-477-4629. Now, we as a community-based organization is part of this initiative, but how do we get, and we had talked in terms of faith-based organizations and churches being involved. Again, Gwen, address one of the ideas that you'd like to see on down the road as relates to the involvement of churches, mosques, and what have you in the effort to safeguard our community.
Well, as I drove around different communities, I noticed the enormous amount of churches that was in the community, especially in the Walnut Park community. From West Florissant to the highway, from Goodfellow to Union, I counted over 65 churches in that community.
65 churches?
65 churches.
Within that little area?
In that area, the area that I explained to you. And so what I'm saying is that every bus stop that I patrolled, I noticed that less than 200 feet there was a church in that community. And I'm saying that I feel like the churches need to step up and they need to open the doors to our children. I would like to see the churches send one of the deacons down in the morning for 2 hours and open up the doors and let the kids sit inside the church so they could be in a warm, safe place. Imagine your child being outside, because myself, I had the support system that I needed.
If you would hold that thought, and we'll deal with the further of that thought on the flip side of this break. We're back with conversations with Zaki Baruti, and in the studio I have my good brother Heru Adeleke, as well as Gwendolyn Cogshell. Gwen, very quickly in terms of your statement around about the churches being more involved.
Well, we have hundreds and hundreds of churches in the community, and I wish that we could get the churches together, get some kind of list of the churches that would volunteer to open up their churches 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the morning to allow the children to sit in a warm place or in a safe place for the children to
as they await for the buses. Brother Heru, in terms of mobilizing and organizing the community, share with, again, the audience how they can get involved with the UAPO in terms of growing the UAPO Neighborhood Patrol.
All right, well, it's a great opportunity to join a terrific organization that's involved in the neighborhood, and you can come to the Legacy Cafe, Books and Cafe on Delmar Boulevard at 7 p.m. on Tuesday nights.
Okay, then. As we bring our program to a close, if there were, and you got thousands of people that's listening to you, I mean millions, shall I say, all across the globe, okay, what would be your message in terms of to our community in particular and the community as a whole around the issue of crime?
It has to stop. It needs to stop. It's time to wake up. We got to be involved. We can't say the next man gonna do it, or the next sister gonna do it. You need to do it. I need to do it. We all need to do it.
Absolutely, Gwen.
Well, I think to stop crime, we need to start getting more involved in the community. There's a lot of disenfranchised people in the community. We need to start from the bottom, like with Reverend Rice. We need to start working with these people that don't have a place to stay. We need to transition them into homes, and then maybe their lives will be a little more stable.
Okay, and along with that, I would also add that we need to have in political leadership people who are committed to the less fortunate. We need to have jobs in our community. We need to have better health services. We just need better services for the dollars that we place into the political leadership and the political structure. So to that end, I just want to reemphasize to people that number one, as Brother Heru had mentioned, as well as you, Gwen, you got to get involved with some type of organization that's about the upliftment of us as a people. As well as there's an election that's taking place, primary on Tuesday, March the 5th. You need to get out and vote. So on that note, we want to thank each and every one of you as you have partaken in our program. So again, next Saturday, 11 p.m., Conversations with Zaki Baruti. We want to say may God bless each and every one of you. Get involved.